Click it. Yep. And we're off the race. Go.
Pow, pow, pow. Just like that, everybody. It's FPN Outdoors.
What's happening, everybody?
Jay Smith here with my good buddy Paul Fleming.
Good morning.
And we're out here at the St. Pete Beach Classic at the Sirata. St. Pete Beach is full of people running right now. They got everything closed down, and we got a front row seat to Vomit Lane right here.
I'm telling you, man.
These people are really working it out there, working hard. There's some good times coming in, too. There's some straight savages coming in.
Straight savages doing it.
All right, so we're going to be going live on the radio here. You can always listen to us on 1040 a.m., and if you're on the East Coast, you can listen to us on 1080 a.m., and we're going to go live here on the radio shortly, but in the meantime, we're going to do our sponsors real quick, which we don't have a list. You're going to help me get through this one. Our FPN Outdoors is brought to you by Coastal Wealth. Go to mycoastalwealth.com. Get your financial future planned out. Paul, you don't want to be 75 years old and realize you didn't have enough money to get through your retirement. Now you got to take a job wrangling pythons in the Everglades. You got snapping turtles biting off your toe. You got crocodiles and the swamp ape fighting like it's Kong Island out there in the middle of everything. You don't want to deal with that. That's stressful. You could have a heart attack out there. There's bugs, mosquitoes. You know,
I'm going to tell you, I'm almost have a heart attack just setting these events up.
I know, right?
I better get my thing going quick.
Go to mycoastalwealth.com. Get a hold of Coastal Mike, and he'll get you set straight. mycoastalwealth.com. We're also brought to you by
Central Marine
and Yamaha. What's their thing again?
CentralMarineService.com.
CentralMarineService.com. Thanks.
And YamahaOutboards.com.
Thank goodness Paul's here to keep things on the rail. Let's see. You can go see their boats. You got Parker, you got Skeeter, you got WorldCat, and you got Cobia's there.
Very good.
Man, only took a year.
Only took a year.
Make sure you go there. Check out their boats. Everything good over there? Hans? Oh, okay. Hans is giving me the thumbs up over there.
Yeah, we've got Hans running the board. Max caught the, what was it?
Ebola. He's straight up dying.
Yep.
So, boy, this girl's all bodied up. Look at her go. All right. So, we are also brought to you by Danco. Go to dancopliers.com. Get you a nice set of pliers. Don't be the guy in the boat with the, what is that?
That plumber's wrench.
Some plumber's wrench or channel locks or something. Here you go, Bob. Get that hook out. What's that?
Hey, man, you got device grips?
Yeah, don't be that guy. They got some nice knives, too. They got some sweet knives.
They do.
That new teal color is great. DancoPliers.com. We are also brought to you by Drawing a Blank here. Help me out, Paul.
Go Puck.
Go Puck. Yeah, that's a good one. Go to GoPuck.com for all your charger needs. I use the Go Puck every single day. I don't know how I got on without it. Yeah. I keep my phone charged with it. We run our cameras.
Yeah, we actually have a Mevo running on a Go Puck right now for the St. Pete Classic. So
and those things take a beating. You know, there's chargers out there. Yeah. None of them will take a beating. I dropped mine, and it bounced 3 stories off a scaffolding. Dang, 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 all the way to the ground.
Yep.
Still works like a champ. Go to GoPuck.com. Who else we got, Paul? Help me out.
Gills Gear.
Gills Gear. How do I forget about that? The baby manatee belly button hair shirts. Man. You know, how are you going to get by without that? Guaranteed to catch fish, and you'll look 10% better to the opposite sex. Go to gills-gear.com and get your apparel there. Who else we got?
Last but not least, Green Pro.
We got Green Pro. Go to greenproflorida.com and get your commercial and residential landscaping needs. Green Pro Services.
greenproflorida.com.
That's, what Paul said. All right, everybody. We're live out here at the Sirata, the St. Pete Beach Classic. We're having a good time out here. We got a whole day full of shows going on here. We got On the Tee Golf Show. We got Tailgater University coming up today.
Yep, and live till noon.
I think another one's about to pop. We got Vomit Road going right outside the window.
And, and of course, they've got to do it right here in front of us. Because
one guy did it right in the lane.
I know he did. I know. And I'm a hear it, see it, smell it, joining a party kind of guy. So this ought to be really good for the radio. Really good for the show.
All right, so we're going to go live on the radio in about 6 minutes. Our special guest today is Dylan Hubbard, if he can make his way through all these runners here.
There's a lot of stuff going on. But, Dylan and his family, man, there's such a legacy in his name.
You think?
In this area, yeah.
I mean, like, since this area really started coming up, that family's been out there fishing and taking people fishing.
1928.
It's insane. I was reading I actually have the history pulled up right here. I was looking through it this morning, too. What an amazing story that family has. I can't wait to talk to them about it all. And plus, Dylan is always on the forefront of a lot of the political side of fishing. You know, being a commercial fisherman himself, and then taking out everybody fishing. He fights for our rights too. Is recreational fishing, you know, and he's always looking out, and he's always at those meetings and taking care of things. So we're going to talk to him about all the new things coming up. I think, what is it, Amberjack?
Yeah, Amberjack's actually still open right now offshore in federal waters, but inshore and state waters, it's closed.
We kind of talked about it last week, but it's a little hinky there, the whole system they got up for it. So we'll talk about that and some of the history of fishing here and John's Pass in general there. That's one of my favorite places.
Yeah, and I'm going to tell you, going back to how Dylan fights for our rights as a recreational, it's very uncommon. Because a lot of the commercial guys in the fishery,
they're on the opposite side.
They're on the opposite side because when they regulate us, it benefits them. So when you have a guy who has a commercial business that's out there fighting for the rights of both the commercial and the recreational fishermen, that's kind of an unusual thing.
Yeah, definitely, and that's what makes him kind of an oddball in that scene, I guess. But we're looking forward to talking to him. And right now we're just watching all these people cross this finish line right here. Oh, somebody poured some water out there. That was good of them.
Nice.
All right, well, we are looking for a good day here. It's a little chilly out, starting to sprinkle a bit, but it's fine. It's not as bad as last weekend. Last weekend
was pretty chilly.
A little Arctic. Yeah. I'm not going to lie. I was kind of shivering when we were sitting out there. So.
Long johns. You got to wear long johns.
All right, everybody, hang tight. We're going to go ahead and get set up outside. I'm going to kick TC out of my chair. And we're going to get set up to go live on the radio here in just a minute. So you guys can kind of watch the behind the scenes here in the commercials. Make sure you talk to us on Facebook. You can find us on there on FPN Outdoors, FPN Broadcasting. You can watch the show there. All three shows actually in FPN Broadcasting.com.
Yep.
What am I missing here?
That's it. This might be Dylan calling me right now, so I'm going to jump off. And
all right, 10-4, everybody. We'll be here live on the radio in just a momento. Go ahead and drop those mics.
Yes, at top and bottom. Okay. All right. Thanks.
What it is, it's the board.
Is it not working? This guy's distracting. This is just one minute.
All right, now we have 1 minute. 1 minute. More.
Get her a water.
Paul, 1 minute.
Do you know if they're still doing the bonfire tonight?
Yes.
Okay. Someone told me no.
Someone got one headphone.
No, he said he's got to sit there. And then we got Dylan coming in, so we'll begin shortly.
You couldn't just sat right there.
Yeah. Good morning, everybody. FPN Outdoors. Oh, my bad. Sorry. Good morning, everybody. A quick start there. FPN Outdoors here, everybody. I'm Jason Smith here with the bearded one, Paul Fleming.
What's going on, everybody?
What's up, buddy? We're out here this morning at the Sirata on St. Pete Beach for the St. Pete Beach Classic. There are a bunch of people running in right now, crossing the finish line, making the big finish. How long was this one today? Do you know?
I
think
believe
it was
this
half,
was
half a marathon, right? 13
I think it was
miles?
half a marathon, yeah.
Wow, that's impressive. These guys left just, I think, just an hour ago.
Yeah, they started at 7.
That's so crazy.
Yep, at 7.
5K.
5K, yeah.
5K. Oh, a little bit lower. All right, so that's way better.
I think the 10K is tomorrow, correct?
Nope, 10K is right after this.
Oh, right after this.
Oh,
Nice.
okay, so we got several runs today.
Yep, nope, there are actually people who are finishing the 5K, going back out there and get ready to run the
Are
10K.
you kidding?
That's nuts.
Savages.
That's savage right there.
Savagery.
Beast mode.
Well, you know what, though? It's a little bit chilly, but not bad this morning. It's probably perfect for running out here today for the 5 mile anyway. I think is it going to get colder here? I think it's supposed to get colder today.
Yeah, I think it's supposed to get colder throughout the day. We had a front that pushed through yesterday, so it's
for everybody running, it's a good thing. For
Yeah,
us sitting
that's for
here,
sure.
it's a little chilly. But anyways, good day today. We got a lot of stuff going on. We got a special guest coming in. We got Dylan Hubbard coming on in a little while. From
if he can
Hubbard's
get
Marina.
in.
Yeah,
he's
if
trying
he
to find
can.
parking right
There's
now.
a lot of people out here, so we'll probably see him in a while. We got a lot of tournaments going on right now, too.
We do.
got the Tampa Bay Redfish Tour going on today. We know a few people that are. I'm going to go there after we're done here today and check out the weigh-in and see all of our friends. I know Kent Hickman's fishing from Florida Pro.
Yeah, Tom Swick.
Tom Swick is in there. Ty Colby, Captain Ty, was supposed to be out there, but I believe he's in the hospital. I hope everything's okay with him. He's able to get on Instagram, so I'm hoping it's not too bad there. So we'll see how that goes today. The fishing should be still pretty good, hopefully. I think that when the front came through yesterday.
It came through yesterday,
Chilled
so
out, but it wasn't a super bad one. I'm hoping
no,
it doesn't kill the bite too
It
bad.
wasn't really, really bad. You know, the weather didn't change too drastically, so the bite should still be on. You know, I think you're just going to have to kind of slow your retrieval down a little bit.
Yeah, it's I believe that one's all lures as well, so nobody had to worry about getting bait. That can be a little tough when it's cooler out.
Yeah, that's
so.
for sure.
I know they had some calm water. I saw Kent posted a video on Facebook, and it was pretty calm water as they were getting out there. So hopefully they'll have a good day of fishing. I'm going to go out there and see the weigh-ins and see. I think last week, who'd we have? We had, I know it was Team Startron, I believe, was the first place of the first leg there. Startron was the name of the team. That's Mickey Gibbs, Captain Jeff Page, and Billy Ahlstrom. So they were in the lead from last week.
Jeff Page, man, he's a go-getter, man.
He's been in the series. He's been around here a long time, so he really knows his stuff. Oh, there's Dylan now.
Hey, there's Dylan.
Good deal. Oh, we're going to welcome Dylan Hubbard to the show here as he pulls up. The Tampa Bay Redfish Tour started, I believe, at 7 this morning at Safe Flight, so they're out right now fishing. We'll see how that goes later on. Right now, we're going to welcome Dylan Hubbard to the show. How you doing, Dylan?
Good, guys. How are you?
Good,
Wonderful.
Good. It's tough getting through all that stuff out there, wasn't it?
Man,
a lot of
that is
people
crazy.
out here today.
Yeah.
So we're really glad to have you on today, and we're going to talk about a bunch of different things there. One of the first things I wanted to talk about was Hubbard's Marina. Paul and I have been looking into the history of all that. Wow.
Yeah.
As a long time and a lot of stuff going on there from your family history.
Yeah, we've been in business a long time. My great-grandfather started our company, and my grandfather took it over. Back in 1928, we started with 7 rowboats and 14 cane poles.
Rowboats and cane poles.
Wow, man, I can't believe it.
Yeah, it's been a long run, and nowadays we do anything from 2 inches of water out past 1,000 foot. We do deep drop fishing. We have private charters, party boats. We do dolphin watching, shelling, snorkeling, kayaks, paddle boards, water taxis, water ferries, beach cabanas.
If it's on the water, you guys are in.
No doubt.
Yeah, for sure.
That's kind of how we try to make it, anything our customers want to do, anything fun in the sun related, they can give us a call. We can get them hooked up. If we don't do it ourselves, one of our local neighbors do it, and try to keep everything we can inside John's Pass. And
See, and I knew about half of those. You know, I knew about all the fishing, about beach cabanas and all kinds of kayaks and all. I mean, that I didn't know. That's news.
Well, yeah, John's Pass is a big deal nowadays. And if you go back and look from where it started, it's come a long way. I mean, most of that stuff wasn't even there when you guys started off.
Yeah, back in, we actually moved to John's Pass in '67. We started in Pass Grill, just down the street from here, at Hubbard's Pier, which is now known as Mary Pier. And in the mid-'60s, when they built the Bayway and started diverting traffic away from Pass Grill, that's when my grandfather moved our company from Pass Grill up to John's Pass. At the time, there was a few fishing boats around, and they were already doing some stuff in John's Pass, but over time, my grandfather was on the board trying to get that boardwalk built. Once the boardwalk was built, more shopping centers came, more restaurants, and John's Pass Village Association grew. And as the association grew and became stronger, more and more business came to John's Pass. And nowadays, it's one of the #1 tourist destinations.
It is. And I've lived here my whole life, and I still love going there. I go there all the time, you know. And whenever we do events there, I mean, it's just a great place. You know, it's really built up great, and the whole area there, especially, you know, right there in the end of Madeira Beach, has just come a long way.
It really has.
Yeah, John's Pass is awesome. I mean, there's a brewery there. There's an alligator attraction. There's an aquarium there. The brewery is one of my favorites. You have Delos's Pizza, lots of great pizza places, bars, a lot of nightlife. There's tons of seafood, every seafood under the sun. Yeah. And it's a great place to hang out for sure, even if you're not going fishing.
Yeah, you can literally round robin everything. You can go there for dinner. You hit the pizza joint. You've got Bubba Gump's is there, Delos's, Hooters. You got all these different food vendors over there, and you can go there, and then you hit the brewery and get your beer on. And then my favorite at the end is hitting the candy shop and getting the chocolate covered bacon.
You left one thing out of the beginning. You bring your poles, come early, fish first.
That's it, fish first.
Because John's Pass has got some fish.
Yeah, it really does.
I've caught some of my biggest fish ever in that pass.
Right now, sheep's head fishing is incredible inside John's Pass.
I saw some monsters coming out of there the other day. Yeah. There were nice-sized sheep's head coming out of there.
Yeah, big sheep's head. We're even catching some snook occasionally. What's crazy is even in this dirty, cold water, last week behind that big blow, Monday, Tuesday, right behind that big front, as soon as the weather calmed down, the snook started chewing. We had kids were out of school, so we had 10, 15 kids fishing on the dock every single day. So it was really cool to be able to walk out there, hey, what are you catching? And,
right.
They're eager to show off their photos, and it was really cool. It was a good week of fishing last week, even with the weather. And I assume it's going to be a lot of the same this week behind this weather. Fishing from the dock, of course, and then looks like Tuesday is going to be your best day if you're trying to get offshore on a boat.
Right before the front.
Yeah, because you got another one coming in.
Yeah, we're supposed to get another one Wednesday morning, and this front's going to last a little bit of time, but on the back side of this front, before that next front, should be your optimal day to get out there for some nearshore and offshore fishing. Hogfish bites starting to pick up. Red grouper starting to dial in on them as spring approaches. Hogfish and red grouper will continually get better and better. Got tuna in the area right now, and a lot of action near shore, surprisingly, with the lane snapper and all the other heads and tails. It's a good time of year to get out there whenever the weather allows.
For sure.
Got to definitely watch out for this whole fog thing. Any kind of mild, nice day.
It was thick the other day.
Yeah.
I was just trying to find my house on the way back from dropping off the kids, and you could barely see 2 houses in front of you, you know?
Well, it's a double-edged sword this time of year. Either it's nasty weather, like today it's overcast, rainy, starting to get cold on us, or it's really nice out.
But foggy.
When it's nice out, you got fog because water temperatures are so cold. If the air temperature's in the 70s or high 60s, you're going to get that sea fog.
Yeah.
And it's dangerous because, for example, this past week, Wednesday, Thursday, it was blue skies, bluebird kind of day, sun's out, everything's good, and all of a sudden a fog bank rolls in.
It was like 10:30 in the morning, I think. When I saw that day, I was watching out the window and just came across the water in a wall.
Yeah, it was like a low-hanging cloud, and then it just kind of enveloped the whole area, and it's definitely a little bit freaky. I mean, in our case, we had kayak and paddle boarders out all morning long. They were having a great time. All of a sudden, fog bank rolls in, and I'm sitting there on the beach like, where are they?
Yeah, oh my goodness.
Well, it's crazy because like I've gone out John's Pass with this fog, and literally you get out past the first set of markers and look back, the bridge is gone. I mean, you can't. There's no reference if you don't have the right equipment to run in that stuff. You know, good luck.
I learned really quick. I had it happen to me once. Go out on the kayak for the day, leave in the morning. Fog's a little bad. Get going, and I figure, I'm good. You know, I can just cut across, and I'll still see all the lights from the houses over here. And you didn't even get 20 feet. You can't even see the houses anymore.
Yeah.
If you don't have a compass, you don't know which way you're going. You can't turn around real easy. So I learned real quick. Keep a little compass on me when I go out in the kayak, just in case that happens.
Well, we had a couple of years ago. We had a guy out there, an actual experienced captain, running his boat in that fog with no radar going, and ended up he ran up on the beach and parked it into a restaurant.
Yep.
Oh, that
Hula
was
Bay.
over there in Ruskin, wasn't it?
Yeah. Hula Bay. We went right into the restaurant.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, but I mean, even as an experienced captain, you have to slow down. You have to watch your radar, and if your boat can go 50 miles an hour, it doesn't mean you have to go. 50
That's
miles
for
an
sure.
hour.
Exactly.
That's for sure.
For sure.
So you've got a lifetime of being involved with fishing, of course, with your family and everything. So you've kind of seen the evolution of this area a little bit here, coming over the years. What do you think are some of the biggest changes that you've seen, you know, fishing-wise in this area? I know we got a lot more people out on the water and everything like that. Is there anything that you've seen over the past, 10, 20 years that might have been a big change for here?
Well, first, let me preface the fact that I am young. I'm only 26 years old, so I can't speak on a lot of history from personal experience, but our family business has been blessed with a long history. So fishing local waters nearly 90 years, and lucky to be a son of a son of a son of a sailor.
Sure.
And
Nice.
have that history there. So when I start talking about stuff in the 70s and 80s, that's why.
Right, that's why I'm asking.
But for example, red snapper. I mean, back in the 60s, 70s, my grandfather didn't know what a red snapper was. He didn't catch them. Nobody caught them. And the Eastern Gulf on our west coast of Florida, which is considered the Eastern Gulf, we didn't have a red snapper population back in those days. And they built that oil pipeline from Louisiana down into the Port of Tampa. And it might as well be a highway for red snapper. They stopped fish traps to try to help the red snapper population. And all of a sudden in the Eastern Gulf, we have this huge, robust red snapper fishery and a huge population. I mean, nowadays you're even seeing juvenile red snapper caught in the bay from the Skyway.
Wow.
People are catching red snapper. So these fish have really migrated into our area and become a robust population. The whole fishing regulation side of that is a whole nother store.
They're kind of trying to play catch up on that, aren't they? The science is a little hinky there sometimes.
Well, I mean, again, whole nother show, but quick point is they themselves admit there's more red snapper in the Gulfs than they thought. I mean, the head of National Marine Fisheries told me that. We messed up. There's more fish out there than we thought, and you guys are catching them too fast. And the way MSA is written, Magnuson-Stevens Act, which bodies our federal fishery, which governs our federal fishery, the way it's written due to the 2006 reauthorization is whenever you overfish a quota, there has to be payback. And that payback is then taking pounds away from your quota for the following year. So way back when they made the initial regulations on red snapper, there was more fish out there than they thought. Well, there's payback the next year, so we had even less quota. We overcaught them again, more payback, and all of a sudden you have this downtrending quota bank when in reality, originally it should have been set much higher. So there's a lot working against them. But yeah, there's definitely some hanky stuff going on.
Yeah, we talk about it sometimes, and Paul is saying this. It's going to come down to some people are just going to have to take some of those guys out to their spots and let them see somewhere. Is that something you think? Or
well, I mean, they admit that there's more fish in the Gulf than they thought. It comes down to a lot of our restrictions. Magnuson-Stevens Act was done in 1976 to govern commercial fishery. And over the years, the recreational fishing industry has been forced into that box of management. And MSA was never built to govern recreational fisheries.
Yeah.
So that is wherein lies the problem. MSA needs to be reauthorized, and there needs to be more of a recreational fishing component in it. And the other big problem that I see and I feel is the fact that we only have these benchmark stock assessments, and a benchmark stock assessment is where they can change quota, change rules and regs from. We only have those every 3 to 5 years.
Yeah, you can see where that. Yeah.
There's 8 different councils across the North American coast that NOAA's Natural Marine Fisheries has set up to govern the fisheries. You have the Atlantic Council, New England Council, the Caribbean Council, South Atlantic Council, Northern Pacific, Southern Pacific, and all these different councils have science centers, and those science centers are what do these stock assessments. And some of these councils have 2 to 3, 4 stock or science centers for each council. Mm-hmm. The South Atlantic Council, the Gulf Council, and the Caribbean Council all share one science center in Southwest Florida.
Oh, that's interesting.
So that science center is responsible for doing stock assessments for 3 different councils. So that is why we only have a red snapper stock assessment every 3 to 5 years. And
They're undermanned, and they can't.
Undermanned, and we need more science centers. We need MSA to be reauthorized, and luckily right now there's a big section of recreational anglers that are starting to get involved, but more people need to join CCA, more people need to join Florida Guides Association, and we all need to kind of get involved and learn what the issues are. MSA is a big problem, and the American Sport Fishing Association, Johnny Morris from Bass Pro Shops, and a few other people are really working hard for this HR 200 and HR 2020 to try to get these new bills in place to help us as a recreational angling industry. And hopefully some of that will move through the Modern Fish Act being part of it, and that'll really help. So definitely get involved, learn what's going on, and stand up for your rights.
Involved and keep up with the sport. If you want to keep it going for the future, you got to get involved. And it just seems like the government's always a little behind. They're always lagging behind because of these things. There's so much red tape they got to go through. And
and what's sad is like an inshore guy or a freshwater guy is like, oh, red snapper, who cares about that? Well, once they get done in the Gulf, these same problems we're having in the Gulf are going to move into the state waters.
They will. Yeah.
And I mean, like right now, we just had some fish kills, snook are getting beat up from the cold and everything. You know, we're probably going to have to make some changes on that. You know, and it affects you. All these things, especially when they're only doing them every 3 to 5 years, and then you have stuff like this affects the entire ecosystem quickly. In a year or two, things can change.
Well, that's what's good about the FWC. The issues we have in the federal fishery in the Gulf of Mexico don't really weigh the same on the state of Florida, like our snook fishery. Inside the state of Florida, we have the FWC, and the FWC does an awesome job. They have multiple labs across the state, and that's one big problem I have is someone will say, yeah, it's the FWC's fault. They have nothing to do with federal fishery regulations.
Right. Yeah.
They stand up for your rights to fish, and they have people on the council fighting for us, but they absolutely have no part in making red snapper regulation or anything at all. So they are only controlling state waters, which is out to 9 miles. Anything inside 9 miles or in the bay or in the channels is all Florida Fish and Wildlife or FWC. And they do an awesome job at our science. And they really help the National Marine Fisheries to kind of fix the problems that they have with MREP and the other calibrations where they come up with these out of the box landings, and it's crazy. I mean,
It's almost like guesswork in a way.
it is
Seems like
guesswork.
it, yeah.
It is guesswork. I mean, they do a phone survey to try to gauge effort in an area, and then they take that effort and extrapolate it over the whole geographic area. And so, if you have one data outlier, that outlier can then be extrapolated across the entire state or the entire area, and then all of a sudden you have this huge data spike. For example, in 2016, recreational landings of greater amberjack spiked by 135%.
Wow.
135% spike. And they're looking at it. Oh, that's kind of weird. We don't know where that came from. Literally, I was told at a meeting, we can't explain data spikes, but they happen.
Interesting.
What?
But we're gonna make changes in the regulations on those data
based
spikes.
off that spike.
Yeah. I mean, in 2004, you had a spike in the red grouper landings in MREP, and that caused red grouper to close early. 2004, we had 12 named storms, and fuel prices were almost at $4 a gallon. You're going to tell me we caught almost 100% more red grouper than previous years?
Yeah.
I mean,
Especially there's less people on the water. There's no way.
Well, and then we just had that immediate change with amberjack.
Yeah, and this year we have some positive news for amberjack, or at least we thought we had positive news for amberjack. They were changing the fishing season. It was supposed to be May, and then August, September, and October, and they changed the fishing year from starting October 1st to July 31st. So you had the fall fishing season would be on its own quota. So if we overfish the quota, the closures would happen at the beginning of the year instead of the end of the year. So they were basically trying to guarantee us a good 4 months and guarantee a solid 3 months in the fall, with perhaps a May portion if we didn't overfish our quota in the fall. But National Marine Fisheries failed to get that rule in place in time. And they've been saying for 6 months amberjack would not open January 1st. And sure enough, they're open right now.
Right. Yep.
And that is purely because National Marine Fisheries did not get that rulemaking in place in time.
But now that's only in federal waters, correct?
Yes, sir.
So
Federal waters.
You can't catch them within state waters.
No, I mean, you'd be pretty hard-pressed to find a keeper amberjack in state waters. But, yeah, federal waters, amberjack are open January 1 through January 27th at 12:01 a.m., meaning January 26th is your last day to get them. And then they'll close, and right now the regulations are saying, oh, they're going to open again July 1st through the end of the year. Well, I'm telling you, they're not. I've talked to multiple people in the council, multiple people at the Southeast Regional Office of National Marine Fisheries, and everybody's in agreement that rulemaking that we talked about at the October council meeting is going to be put into place in February, March, making amberjack season for 2018 May, August, September, and October. And that's what I've been told, and that's what I'm banking on, but you never know. And what's ironic is Southeast Regional Office is blaming the new administration for taking so long to make these rules, and the new administration is blaming them for these outlandish things.
Everybody's pointing fingers.
Last year, though, that was, for our 2017 red snapper in the private rec sector, they did something they'd never done before. That was groundbreaking to have the Secretary of Commerce come in and say, nope, you guys did this wrong. You got this wrong. We're going to take your 3-day season. We're going to add 39 days to it.
Yeah, that was pretty cool.
Yeah, and he gave them weekends. Wilbur Ross, the Secretary of Commerce, did something that no one has ever done. The government stood up for the private recreational angler, the average Joe angler, and that was pretty cool.
Set you back a little bit, huh?
That's
well, it's got to make it a little difficult for captains and everything to keep up with all that stuff that's going on. It seems like
it's very difficult.
Just random changes going on all the time. You really got to be on your toes to keep up with all that.
The perfect example was this amberjack thing. I go to these. I've been flying around to all over the 5 Gulf states to go to these council meetings, and they were guaranteeing at the October council meeting, amberjack season will be May, August, September, and October. So I booked my trips. I planned that way. I told my customers that way, and then sure enough, oh, never mind. It's going to be January 1 through January 27th and July 1st through the end of the year. Yeah, and that's what they said, and they didn't say anything else. But then I call them on it. And they're like, oh, yeah, that's what it is right now, but we're going to change it in February, March. What the? How do you expect us to run businesses?
You can't run a business.
No, it's hard to do that.
And people that are coming from out of state or whatever do these trips, they don't understand all the politics behind it.
Yeah, so it really, really makes it difficult. And luckily, we do have people like the CCA, American Sport Fishing Association, the FGA, going to these meetings and fighting for our rights to fish and trying their best to keep us informed. And that's basically what we got right now, is just trying to stand on one foot and trying to understand these regulations.
Right. While we're on that subject, you want people to get involved and step up and get into the arena here like you guys are. What is the best way for people to participate in this and have their voices heard?
The best way right now is to speak up on this new regulation that's moving through the House and Senate. And the best way to do that is by checking out the American Sport Fishing Association website. They actually have a form letter. All you have to do is type in your name, zip code, and it will kind of populate all your information into a form letter and automatically send it to your representatives. So it's a great way for you to make your voice heard.
Makes it really easy, too.
Yeah. Either call your representatives, but if you don't feel comfortable making a phone call on some of this lofty information, fill out that form letter. And you can find that form letter right on, I run a little fishing rights group. It's called Fishermen United. You can message me through the Hubbard's Marina Facebook page, and I'll point you in the right direction. Or I can post a link on this live video here once we're off air. But real important to go fill that letter out. And then if you can, attend some meetings. If you can't attend meetings, then just join the CCA, join the FRA, join the FGA, the American Sport Fishing Association. $35 will get you membership. That'll keep you informed. It'll get you on the newsletter list. And worst thing you can do is be apathetic and say, "Oh, someone else has got."
You're always
this.
waiting for somebody else to step up for your rights. If you want to keep, we talked about it before on the podcast. You got public land issues. You've got these fishing issues. Even if it doesn't, maybe you're a fisherman. Maybe you don't go out on public lands, or opposite, vice versa. You want to step up, and it could be your stuff next. So make sure you have your voice heard.
And if you can't go to the meetings, you can't join a membership. At least try to make a letter, or just give your number. Pay your $35. That's a number.
Public opinion matters,
it really
but it has
does.
to be heard. So
it really
you got to
does.
step. You got somebody on.
Yeah, we're actually getting ready to move up onto our first commercial break here. But one of our Facebook viewers, Gene Hammond, had a question for Dylan. It says, "How does the FWC enforce state waters? How do they make for sure? How do they know for sure that you caught your amberjack in federal waters? Because he's, even though it's hard to find them, if you do find them in that,
Well, it's very difficult for the FWC to enforce a lot of that, but most of the time they're at that 9-mile barrier, so they're seeing where you're fishing, if you're fishing inside or outside. In my case, I'm a federally permitted boat, so it doesn't matter if I'm fishing state waters, federal waters. I have to follow federal regulations.
Gotcha.
Unless state waters are more restrictive, but definitely very difficult, and I don't recommend you play that game, because that's a good way to get your boat. They'll take your boat, they'll take your trailer, they'll take the truck that's pulling your boat if you get caught disobeying some of that stuff.
Gotcha.
All right, we're coming up on a.
Yeah, it looks like this is our commercial break here, so we'll be right back. This is FPN.
No, we're still good.
Oh, we're still good?
We're still good.
Okay.
I heard the great music, though.
I don't know
We
what
got some
that's
good
all
music
about.
rolling in the back there.
I can dig that. All right, well, nope, we're. All right.
Okay.
What made you guys come here for this?
Well, all three shows we're all kind of Saturday morning together. So, the mayor puts on this here, so we come out, just make appearance to help promote their stuff. He likes to put us out in the cold.
Yeah, I had no idea this whole thing was going on. So when you started talking about a marathon on my way here, I'm like, what the fuck? And I started getting down here, I'm like,
Oh, crap. Is there anything that you want to get out today that you need to talk about or you'd like to talk about?
I'd like to obviously shout out our seminar we got coming up January 20th.
All right, I'll get to that towards the end.
Yep, and besides that, nothing specific.
When we come back, we should touch on that angler, talk a little bit about that. Yeah, and then we should touch a little bit on that and get back into that fog segment. Take care of that. Yeah, we'll take care of that. The fog. We'll get into his seminar and then make sure how to get a hold of you to get the trips. What kind of trips you have? What you're catching right now. There's also teas coming after the place. Cool.
Yes,
Maybe 30 seconds.
yeah, that'd be awesome.
We got a lot of people running today. This is a big event. I didn't realize there was this many people that run in this town.
Man, my hat's off to them because I'm tired just looking at them across that finish line, man.
Tell you what. So we are sitting here with Dylan Hubbard. We've been talking about some of the regulations offshore, all that kind of stuff. We're going to go ahead and get into a little bit sadder news, some things that happened over the past week or so here on Lake Okeechobee. Paul, you want to take us into that?
Yeah, we touched on this last show. We had a boat that failed to make check-in at the FLW Costa 3-day tournament, and they ended up shutting down the event for it. There was an extensive search for the co-angler who was missing. I think he was missing for almost 5 or 6 days. They finally did recover him. It was obviously not the outcome that everybody was hoping for. I do want to throw a shout out to one of our local fishing teams here. They've done a lot through different crises. They did some relief during the hurricane.
They're always involved. They always are involved in stuff.
Bob Strawhacker and Danny Lopez from the Wood Butcher fishing team heard about that. They immediately shut their shop down, loaded up their Wood Butcher fishing team boat, and headed off to the lake. They were actually on the water with Nick Kaler's brother-in-law. And they were out there. They got a message to move positions. When they finally did move positions, they did, throughout their search, found what they felt to be Nick Kaler by using their Simrad sonar technology. Radioed that into the FWC, and they did go back out later that afternoon and recover Nick Kaler. So our prayers do go out to the Kaler family. But, the big thing with this, not passing judgment to anybody, but, you really have to get your local knowledge of your areas. You really need never underestimate Mother Nature, because she can turn on you in a heartbeat. We were talking about this, fog earlier. It just rolls in. Same thing with rough water. Lake Okeechobee is a big, massive body of water. And that
massive
particular
body. It's such a big lake.
It takes, if you're running on a calm day from the north side to the south side at 50 miles an hour, it's going to take you an hour to cross it. And when you're in the middle of it, it's no different than being offshore. You can't see land. There's nothing. Yeah. I know. We've been there. I've made that run. You have to be prepared.
What's really freaky about that place is you can be in the middle of that lake. You can't see land on either side of you. And if you go out of the channel, it's 2 feet deep. You're going to hit a rock pile and sink your boat.
Yeah.
Well,
crazy.
and in this particular case, it was 4 to 6 footers in the middle of Lake Okeechobee. Mm-hmm. So you really have to know your weather. The interesting thing about that particular tournament is you have a boater and a co-angler. And the boater is the only one who's allowed to operate the boat. Mm-hmm. In this particular case, the boater was from Louisiana and had very little, if not no knowledge of Lake Okeechobee, mm-hmm. to where the co-angler has fished the lake and everything else, but he's not able to drive the boat. Yeah. So, but there's things that you can put into place to help yourself. We talked about it last week. If you're going to go out offshore or inshore or on a lake, register a float plan with a loved one. Let them know the areas that you're going to be fishing in. Mm-hmm. Our good sponsor, Atlas Tracks, you put a tracker on your boat. Personal EPIRBs, but especially in these boats that you're out there running in heavy seas at 50 miles an hour, wear your PFD.
Well, it's very important. I mean, Lake Okeechobee, especially fishing one of these tournaments when you're going fast, going across the lake, it might be at night, is very similar to offshore fishing. And this time of year is so important to be prepared. Talk to your crew. If I'm getting out there on a trip in the morning and we're leaving early in the fog or at night, it's very important to let everybody know, hey, this is where my ditch bag is. Hey, this is where our EPIRB is. This is how you use the radio. In case of emergency, I need you to grab this. I need you to grab that. I need me to grab this. And if I'm hurt, you know what I'm supposed to be doing so you can cover for me. It's very important to have that ditch bag ready. And when I say a ditch bag, that's a waterproof bag with your first aid kit, with your EPIRB, with an emergency handheld radio, with maybe some meals on the go kind of thing.
That's exactly what I have.
Yeah, and it's very important to have that type of stuff, signaling stuff, flare guns.
And that's
mirrors.
not just offshore either.
No, it's everywhere.
Inshore, be prepared.
I carry that.
Know how to operate the boat that you're on. If you're on a friend's boat and you've never been on it before, ask questions.
I carry that bag no matter what boat I'm on.
Yeah.
And literally, I actually took one of those inflatable PFDs that has the CO2 cartridge that once that capsule fills with water, it expands. I've actually got that rigged to the backpack so that if I'm flowing or if the boat goes down, the backpack will actually float up, and it's got 4 bottles of water. It's got protein bars. It's got a first aid kit. It's got it, and it's got a additional handheld GPS that's waterproof in a case. It's got a handheld VHF waterproof in a case. So God forbid that happens where I have to ditch. I'm going to be found.
Yeah.
We talked about it last week too. I've even had a problem on the kayak once. I got stuck on the island for a night with me and Hans. Couldn't get back. I was hurt. Things can happen, so be prepared. I always bring a little bit extra, just even in the kayak. I'm going out for 4 hours. I bring a couple extra waters and a little bit to munch on just in case. And I'm glad I did that day. Extra jacket.
A float plan can save your life for sure. Making sure someone knows where you're going, when you're going to be back, and an approximate area. On our Go Fast boats, if anybody's going beyond 40, 50 miles, they have to have a flow plan in place, not only with our fleet supervisor, but with myself and the owner of the company. And that's just our company policy. If you're taking customers out there, you've got to have a flow plan in place. You got to have all your safety equipment in place, and we have to do a little safety briefing before we leave the dock. And it's very important. This time of year, you do not have a long time in the water before hypothermia sets in and the worst can happen. So it's very important. One thing a lot of people don't realize, too, is if the worst does happen, you got to stay with the boat. The boat capsizes, boat sinks, stay with the boat because that debris field is going to be what gets you found.
A lot easier to find you in that than a needle in the haystack in the rest of the bay or
I believe in reading the stories on this particular incident that happened. The boat ended up getting stuffed and it took on water. But I believe that he tried to maneuver the boat around, even as flooded as it was, trying to locate his co-angler.
He used his trolling motor to get back to shore.
To do that. And, that whole event is just, it's tragic. It's, but I hope a lot of people learn from it. If there's one thing you can take away from any tragic event is how can you prepare yourself so that it doesn't happen to you? Yeah. How do you make those preparations? And I think obviously registering your float plan and being prepared is obviously the way to go.
Because I don't know much about this situation. I'm not going to speak specifically on that situation because I don't know. But I know a lot of times what happens in Okeechobee and what happens in the Gulf is you get these rogue waves. You can be running along and it's 2 to 3 foot. You're quartering them perfect. You're perfectly positioned to where you're not going to get stuck. But then you get that one wave that's coming at a different angle or that's a little bigger than the rest. And things can go bad quickly, even if you are a professional and you do this for a living. Things can go bad quickly, and that preparation is.
And that's a good point because I've had that same instance. It's been, it was rough and everything else. And one of the big things, even as an experienced captain, if you're in rough water and you're running a boat and your brain is constantly looking for the timing of the waves to make sure that you're powering and pulling power back at the right amount of time to make sure you stay up on top of that wave. Doing that can actually get you mesmerized on that pattern of waves.
Oh, yeah.
And then that rogue wave comes out, and it will completely, totally catch you off guard.
Yep.
And by then, it's too late.
It's all about the timing and rhythm. Then
it is. There's, if you're an experienced captain and you're running in rough waters, your hand's always on the throttle. You're constantly feeding power and removing power, feeding power.
Is this something we can kind of explain a little bit to people? I mean, I know there's a certain way you want to hit these waves. You kind of want to ride the trough and that kind of thing.
You want to keep your bow above the wave. And, you can quarter a C to where you're not hitting those waves head on and taking that white water over your bow or green water over the bow in the case of offshore fishing. So you kind of want to quarter the C. And, for example, you can be out there and you got a strong east breeze, you head way west, and all of a sudden you turn around and there's a 4-foot sea coming at you and you're heading. Well, don't take that heading.
Yeah.
Just because you're going that way doesn't mean you have to steer that way. You can quarter the seas and you can tack
zigzag.
on the way in.
Tack your way
tack
back in.
and forth on the
Yeah.
way.
Yeah.
And if the seas get really bad, you just have to slow the heck down.
You do.
And you have to go with the seas. I mean, I've been out there before, and all of a sudden a 10-foot sea comes up, especially this time of year. And then in the summertime, when you get those afternoon showers, you're offshore, you get stuck in a bad storm. You got to slow down. You got to go the same speed as the waves. And you're constantly jockeying the boat to stay in that trough, not letting the wave break over your bow or break over your stern. And it's all about experience, practice, and hopefully you don't have to practice too much.
Yeah, for sure.
But experience and knowing what to do in the situation is very important.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, there's no real way to teach that until you're in the
Experience.
situation.
Yeah, it's a definitely have to kind of trial by error. Unfortunately,
And
you
that
know,
error
or
can be your life.
it really can be. You know, here's the other thing. If you are an inexperienced boater, go out with somebody who is experienced. You know, make that connection, make that friend. Go, you know, if it's a rougher day and you still want to be able to get out there and go with somebody who has knowledge of running a boat in those kind of conditions and learn from them. That's the only way you're really going to do it. That way you're actually in that condition, you're learning from them, and you're not just caught in that condition by yourself. And you know, and the big thing is and it's very hard for everybody. It's so easy to say, but you have to keep yourself as calm as you possibly can, because the more you the more you get excited, the longer your reaction time is.
Yeah. And in the state of Florida, it's so great. Our fishery is so robust, and there's so much to do and have fun on the water, but it's so easy to get your hands on one of these boats. And just because you can buy a boat that does 40, 50, 60, 70 miles an hour doesn't mean you have to go that fast, and it doesn't mean you have to go 70, 80, 100 miles from shore. Can't stress it enough to hire a captain, go out in the boat, learn your electronics. And you got to learn how to use your electronics in nice weather before the bad weather comes.
For sure.
If you've got a new radar, Jim Fogel from the Power Squadron was talking about this morning. If you get a new piece of equipment and you're not using it when the water is nice, when the weather is nice, how are you going to know how to use that equipment when the weather goes bad?
For sure.
It's very important.
It's not the
to get
time to
familiar.
learn.
No. And hire someone and learn how to do it before you go try to do it yourself, especially going offshore or going into the middle of Lake Okeechobee.
Well, I mean, perfect example here in our body of water here. I have fished numerous kingfish tournaments in the fall and go to run into the bay because the offshore seas are just so extreme, and you'll be in there. Caught me in the middle, middle of the dark. We're running, and came out of a smooth channel in the middle of Tampa Bay. There was 4 and 5 footers.
Oh yeah, it gets rough out there, and that's what a lot of people don't understand. Crossing that bay can be treacherous, especially around the mouth. Those tide flows start going, wind picks up, waves pick up quick.
Definitely starts booking out there. I don't think people realize just how much things happen. Your boat will break down. Anything can happen out there. So definitely in closing on this subject here, be careful, know your gear, know where everything is, and have fun. You don't have to go as fast as you can in every single situation. So I know Paul is a get up on it kind of guy, though.
That's what happens when you start kingfishing.
Yeah. Well, before we get in, I did want to talk a little about tournaments, but before we get into that, real quick about your marina and everything you guys have to offer there. I know you have a bunch of different kind of fishing trips that are available there. What all do you guys offer there?
Well,
that's a whole nother half hour, right?
Yeah. I mean, we do anything from the backwaters to fishing on the beach out to 20 miles on our near shore trips. And then we have our offshore trips where we fish all the way out to 1,000 foot. We can take
and those for like a couple days. Don't you have some of those? Those long
we
time
have on our party boats. We have a 5, 10, 12, 39, 44, and 63-hour fishing trip. Where we do anything from 9 miles from shore to about 120 miles from Johns Pass, 100 miles from shore, up to about 900 to 1,000 foot deep. So we do a little bit of everything on the party boats. Then on our private charter boats, we have a whole fleet of private charter boats that are custom built for any size group. We can do anything you want to do on the water. Anything that swims in the Gulf or the backwaters, we have a trip to go get them. And we can accommodate any size group, and all the boats are custom built to fit your needs. You tell us what you want to catch, how long you want to go, how many people you have, and we'll custom build a trip to your needs. A lot of people will kind of get frustrated with us because they're like, well, how much is it for this? Well, what do you want to catch?
Yeah.
How many people do you have? What kind of boat do you want? Because we have so many options, it makes it a little bit difficult to get pricing on a private charter. Our party boats are easy. Here's what we have. Here's a tray you can choose from, and here's the prices.
So you just kind of customize it to each individual need.
Our private charter department, we have a salesperson, Angela Hume. She is a great individual. She's really good at her job. You can get in touch with her, and she will totally customize the trip for what you want to see, down to what you want to eat for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. What you want to drink, we can provide everything. Or you can bring it all yourself and just pay for the fishing.
Bobby Lee Holland says you got good food on your boat, too.
Best cheeseburger in the Gulf. Guaranteed.
How about skill level? Say somebody has 0 fishing experience and they come down, they want to go out.
Our favorite thing is to teach someone how to get hooked up on fishing, how to get hooked on their tackle box. And nothing beats taking a kid fishing and getting them hooked on their tackle box instead of their Xbox. And we love teaching people how to fish. That's what we kind of specialize in. We want you to be experienced anglers, and hopefully when you leave our boat, you'll be a little bit more experienced. And all the stuff we were talking about, running in dangerous conditions, all that preparation, you can come out on the boat. We'll sit there. That's a great part about party boat fishing. So many people dog on party boat fishing, but it's one of my favorite things to do, because you can go out there, you can sit back, you can drink a beer, have a good time, you can talk to your fellow anglers, you can meet like-minded dudes, you can learn, and women, you can learn more about how to fish, and you can talk to everybody. And growing up on the back deck of a party boat is where I learned a lot of the
Probably learned everything right there. That's what I was just about to say, the wealth of knowledge that comes your way. And what's great about the fishing community, which we talk about ad nauseum, people are so eager to share their they're so eager to share with you their knowledge about things. I mean, you can't go wrong with that.
Especially once you get them 100 miles from shore out in the middle of the Gulf, and they start catching fish. Everybody's tired, drinking beer on the way in. I mean, I remember sitting there as a kid on those back live wells and just listening to these old salty guys talking about all their tips and tricks, and I've learned a lot through that, and it's been really beneficial. And party boat fishing is a great benefit for that reason. It's fairly cheap when you're looking at things. I mean, a party boat 5-hour half day, 3 hours of fishing is $55.
That's nothing. That's
or $27.50 for kids.
And you can just show up, hop on the boat, and go, right?
Yeah, you can show up with nothing, and we'll we have some a la carte options for you. Or you can bring it all and just pay the $55. We have a 10-hour all day for $90. And my favorite trips are the long-range specialty trips, like our 12-hour Extreme. We have this brand new Flying Hub 2. It's actually a hydrofoil-assisted catamaran.
That thing is cool looking.
Yeah,
that thing is cool looking.
It's the first of its kind in the entire nation. You actually ride on a wing underneath the boat, and we can take up to 16 anglers at 33 knots, or around 40 miles an hour.
Wow.
And we can fish 70 to 100 miles from shore on a 12-hour trip. You get 7 to 8 hours fishing time. It's a really cool experience. It's basically like our 39-hour style fishing in a 12-hour day.
That's awesome.
I remember when you guys got that. I was on the water, and I'm going, what is that?
Yeah.
Well, I'm just sitting here thinking about the 63 hours. That's savagery right there. You know how tired you must be from pulling up big fish offshore?
You're not at all.
Goodness,
You're not
man.
at all.
Yeah.
Because obviously you get tired from the big fish, but we have awesome bunks on that boat. The Florida Fisherman 2 is our large catamaran party boat vessel that we custom built in the late 80s. My grandfather had it built in New Orleans for our 39, 44, and 63-hour trips. There's bunk rooms, there's a shower, there's bathrooms, there's a full galley. We have a TV area, so you can sit back and watch a movie while we're moving spots, or you can take a nap, you can take a shower, whatever you need to do. And it's climate-controlled cabins. Everybody's got their own personal live wells. It's a really, really cool boat that was built for this type of fishing. And on our 63-hour, you control the whole way out. You control in between spots. We catch a lot of pelagic species, dolphin, wahoo, mahi, kingfish, our billfish. We've caught swordfish on that trip. We've caught sailfish on that trip. We've jumped a few marlin on that trip. So there's plenty of stuff to do on that 63-hour. And deep drop fishing for those snowy grouper, yellow edge grouper, barrelfish.
Some interesting critters down there.
I was just about to say,
good
you will see so many cool. If you've never been out offshore before, you will see some of the most amazing things out there, like big manta rays, all kinds of things swimming around out there. So it's
wild what you can see in the middle of the Gulf. I mean, one of those 63 hours this past year, we came up across this huge like bumper. It looked like one of the things that had maybe fallen off a ship. It was like the size of a small bus, and it was floating there. And underneath it was the largest school of triple tail and mahi that I've ever seen.
Wow.
I mean, we were filming a show. We had a whole film crew on the boat with divers and drones, and we were able to get some really cool footage of that thing. And,
that's cool.
I mean, there must have been 300 triple tail on this thing in the middle of the Gulf. In the middle of the Gulf. I mean, hundreds of miles from Johns Pass. It was awesome. It was really cool to see. So there's a lot of unique things you can run into out there, and if you don't get out there and try it, you'll never know.
Yeah, you'll miss out. It's a lot of good stuff out there. Real quick, before we run out of time, I did want to talk about some of the tournaments that we got going on in the area. I know you guys are involved with some of them. Today is the Tampa Bay Redfish Tour. We got a few friends out there fishing today. We got Kent Hickman out there. Tom Swick is out there today. When I'm done here, I'm gonna run out there and try and cover the weigh-ins and see how everything went there. But coming up, we've got a bunch of great tournaments that we're going to be involved in. Some of them, like the Florida Pro West. We got Florida Pro coming up on February 10th in Ruskin at the Hooks Bar and Grill. And that's one of my favorite redfish tours right there. It's a lot of fun. We get involved in that one. I'm not sure what day they're going to do the one-man this year.
It's a good restaurant, too.
Oh, yeah, it is. It really is. A lot of fun there. And then one I definitely want to talk about is the Wild West. They're going to have their kickoff party January 20th.
Yes.
I'm not sure where that is. That's
gonna be at the Marina Cantina. That was actually a changed venue. It was supposed to be at the Island Way, but they moved it over to the Marina Cantina. So you definitely get out there and check that out. It's a great event.
That event, Wild West. When the actual first leg is April 7th, and they always do it at Johns Pass, where Hubbard's Marina is.
Yep, in front of Delos's Pizza. I love that place.
Yeah, and that's where we are lucky enough to have our broadcast trailer at every time. They always take care of us. There's great people there at Delos's. That's one of my favorite kingfish tournaments because James is such a character, man.
He is. Yeah.
It's a lot of fun. That event it brings out a lot of people. Johns Pass is a great place to have the event at because of all the things there are to do there, the restaurants, I mean, for that matter, if you get there early and you're not fishing the tournament, go out on one of the Hubbard's boats for the day, have a good time, come in. Another one I want to talk about real quick is Tighten the Drag. That is one of my favorite inshore tournaments. It's for a great cause. It's for spinal cord injuries. Sheila Chamatana runs that. And that is March 17th, and that is going to be at the Magnuson Hotel.
Yeah, we'll be out there for that.
I really want to encourage you. If you are an inshore fisherman, you want to fish this tournament. There's a lot of ways to fish it. I'm not sure if Liberty Outdoors is on board this year or not there, but there's a lot of options. They have a kayak division. It's really easy to get a rental kayak if you don't own one.
Yeah.
And it's actually the kayak division is usually pretty light. There's not that many people. You actually have a really good chance.
Yeah, absolutely.
If you get into that division there. And they always run a good one. They do the spring and the fall.
They do the spring and the fall.
You've been involved with that a lot.
I have. I helped check the fish in some cases. Do the weigh-in side of it. I've stayed as much involved in that tournament as I can because it's such a great cause. Also, I actually during our broadcast here, I got a text message from Captain Ryan Farner with the Suncoast Kingfish Classic, and that is April 14th.
Yeah,
and he has asked us to come back out and host the event again like we did in the fall. So
yeah, it was a lot of fun.
That was definitely a lot of fun, and it was a great honor to be able to go in and host that. It's the longest kingfish tournament.
You can actually go back and watch that.
Yeah.
If you go to FPNOutdoors.com, you can find where we were live for that show. We also have video of the Black Honkies. They put on a great show.
A great show there
that Friday night. That was a lot of fun. So I'm looking forward to that one. I'm looking forward to Tighten the Drag for sure. We've got the IFA West and East starting up March 17th and March 24th. And then, like Paul just said, the Suncoast Kingfish is April 12th through the 14th. And we'll be at most of those events. I don't think we'll be at the IFA, but we're going to keep track of the standings and all that and keep everybody informed on that. Dylan, do you ever do any tournament fishing? A little too busy for that?
Yeah, if you're too busy to go fishing, you're just too busy. But as far as tournament fishing goes, we do some tournaments when our clients want to get involved. If someone wants to charter our boat for a tournament, we'll be more than happy to get involved. But
seems like a smart move to me.
That's a great idea. You know, a lot of these guys don't realize what goes into doing some of this tournament fishing, and you know that's a great opportunity to get involved.
Soon, though. Yeah. This year, we're going to do a lot of behind the scenes things. I actually finally got the word. I'm going to ride with Derek Engel this year for one of the Florida pros. I'm going to follow him for a couple days before and show exactly what it goes into. I'm sure the offshore stuff is even more crazy. There's probably even more preparation.
Well,
for that.
Even fishing a tournament in this local area. I mean, we're out there 2 or 3 times during the week catching bait and pre-fishing. Now you talk about a team that goes and travels to the East Coast.
Yeah,
you're there for a week.
And you got to pre-fish. I mean, one example I'll use is Dan Casey from Snapper Sea Grill, 1200 Chop House, Mad Fish Grill. He won King of the Beach. I think it was fall or spring last year.
Spring. Spring, is it? I think it was spring.
Yeah, but for the fall one, the fall component, the next tournament, I mean, I'm standing on the dock every morning, seeing the boats off, and every morning Dan Casey's heading out in the boat by himself to go run around the Gulf of Mexico and burn hundreds of gallons of fuel to go find out where these fish are, where the bait is. And then that doesn't even include his pre-fishing. So, I mean, these guys spend a lot of time on the water following these fish around. Kingfish is a pelagic fish. It moves constantly.
Constantly moving.
And they're following bait schools, and it's... Tournament fishing is a love-hate thing, and
it is.
For me, I don't like.
Not
I don't
your
have
thing.
love for it.
Okay. And you know, Pro Marine, Gymnastic Pro Marine. Look what they did. They went out and they ran. Hundreds of hours on the water. And what did they do? They found a spot. Yep. And that one year, man, they backed 2 65-pounders, and then a 58, and then a 48. I mean,
they were 20 points above everybody else. I mean,
it was crazy, but that's putting in the time and effort. So a lot goes into tournament fishing.
It also earns you getting followed around. So
it does. It does for sure.
Well, if you put a wrap on your boat, you're getting followed.
Yeah, it's pretty much over from there.
That's why you need a fast enough boat to outrun them.
All right, so we got a couple minutes left here. Tournament fishing is going to be great this year. Right now, offshore, what's going on right now? What are we looking at?
Right now, offshore, focus on your amberjack and triggerfish. National Marine Fishery screwed up on the rulemaking, so we have this little short windfall season. So definitely focusing on those when you can get offshore to them. I mean, triggerfish you can catch anywhere. It's more of a bycatch. You can catch those anywhere from about 30 foot of water out past 200 foot. Amberjack, you're looking at a solid 120 foot beyond to catch a good amount, consistent big keeper amberjacks, 34 inch to the fork or more. But you can catch amberjacks as shallow as 80, 90, 100 foot. But to get those consistent big ones beyond 120 is best. That's your good friend, 35 miles out or more. And then you have hogfish are starting to bite consistent, and as March, April approaches, which is kind of the peak of the hogfish, this cooler weather has them in closer. They're kind of congregated, and they're getting ready for their spawn. So they get a little bit more aggressive, a little bit easier to catch, hook and line. The divers don't dive for them as much this time of year. So there's a little bit less pressure on those fish, and it's a great time of year to hook and line some hogs. Red grouper is going to start biting real well in the spring. They have that deep water closure in February and March, but that's only the red grouper only close beyond 120 foot. So if you're inside of that fence, you can catch the red grouper as much as you want. So red grouper's open all year. Scamp grouper's biting well right now. We have a bunch of lane snapper. They're pretty aggressive. Tuna coming into the area. Tuna action should be pretty steady through the spring. So it's a great time of year to go out there near shore, offshore fishing. And if you're too busy to go fishing, you're just too busy.
Exactly. I tell you, man, you would think with the cold weather that it just wouldn't be so great out there fishing, but it seems like it's just turned on everything. Inshore, you got redfish are biting right now. The trout are biting right now. I've even seen people slaying snook.
Yeah. And it's offshore fishing, nearshore fishing, you have to time it around these fronts. You have to be careful. Right up until a front moves through, the fishing is really good. And then behind a front, once the waves calm down, waters clear up, barometer stabilizes, the fishing's real good again. So you just have to kind of watch the weather, play with the weather, or you could cheat and message me over the Hubbard's Marina Facebook page, and I'll help you. But as far as fishing this coming week, Tuesday's the best for sure.
Right. It looks like we're going out, folks. This was FPN Outdoors at the St. Pete Beach Classic. Thanks, Dylan Hubbard, for coming in today.
Anytime.
Appreciate it. Always love to see you. We'll be back next week, folks. Stay tuned for On the Tee.
Tight lines, everybody.
Should I keep talking this out?